Hello everybody, Mike Maloney with the Veterans Memorial Park and Digital Library. We're in Kansas City, Missouri at the great VFW National Convention. We have in front of us Mr. Doug Brinker, and he's going to impart all his wisdom on us, all the stuff he does there in Michigan. Please, Doug, spell your last name.
Brinker, B-R-I-N-K-E-R.
Excellent, sir, excellent. And please, let's start where you came from, where you grew up, your high school, and how you got yourself in the military.
So I'm from Jackson, Michigan. Jackson, Michigan is...
that's right.
Right there.
Yeah.
I'm on the wrong hand. Jackson, Michigan's right there, west of Ann Arbor, south of Lansing, north of Toledo, Ohio.
Ohio.
I was born in Foote Hospital, January 31st, 1963, at 3:20 a.m., 19 and a half inches long, 7 pounds, 8.5 ounces. I was the biggest baby in the nursery.
Well, we're at your birth, all right?
So yeah, I spent my whole entire birth, obviously, and life in Jackson, Michigan, all 59.5 years. I graduated, I attended a variety of things, but let me start with the first, is I was adopted by my grandparents at 2.5 years old and lived with them until my grandma passed away when I was 6. Grandpa, unfortunately, could not manage to take care of me and placed me in the St. Joe's Home for Children, where I resided from 8 until I was 13. I went to a variety of different schools in a couple of different school districts, and then I went and lived with my mom and stepdad and stepfamily, half brothers, half sisters, until I went to Grass Lake, Michigan. Moved out there, went to Grass Lake High School, go Warriors. I was on the late Joe Bechtel's first state baseball championship team in 1980, where we went 25-2 for the season.
Nice.
I graduated. I attempted, because I never took college classes, I attempted to go to Eastern Michigan University, where I was told by the advisors, because I did not take college prep classes, my likelihood of success would be very challenged the first semester. So I entered the Navy. I spent time on board first I went to Great Lakes, Illinois. The wrong time of the year I'd ever give you advice, unless you love winter. Don't go to Illinois and Great Lakes between October and January, because it gets upwards of 75 below zero with a wind chill. In fact, Dallas and San Francisco played in the NFC 1981 championship, and it was 72 below zero. We were restricted to our barracks for 3 days, ice forming on the windows. When we finally did allow to go to class, we marched, and somehow I never understood how the Navy issued steel-toed boots in winter in Illinois, and we know what happens to steel. And I ended up marching to the chow hall, to our classes. Then you would take your shoes and socks off to warm your feet up in order to be able to proceed to the next class and chow hall, what have you. So I went on board, got stationed on the USS Mullinex DD-944, a Forrest Sherman-class destroyer that actually went through Vietnam, went through Hurricane David, lost its forward gun mount on a 49-degree roll, and I actually was a boatswain's mate. And if anybody knows anything about the Navy, the boatswain's mates do all the work, because we are the last ones off the ship, because we're in charge of driving, we're in charge of tying it up, we're in charge of painting, running small boats, running refueling operations, vert rep operations, which are when helicopters bring down pallets and stuff and lower them down onto the deck. I stayed in the Navy went all over the world. I went to Beirut for the multi-peacekeeping mission, where I learned now I could have gotten my eligibility way back in 1984 when I got out of the Navy off active duty.
Yep.
Instead, fast forward some 9+ years ago when I actually did get my eligibility. But I traveled all over the Navy, all over the countries, went to the Maldive Islands, I went to Mombasa, Africa. I went to places that today would cost you tens of thousands of dollars.
What was going on in Mombasa? Why'd you go there? You know?
Well, we were supposed to have gone to 22 Liberty stops, but because of the multi-peacekeeping mission in Beirut, Lebanon, we ended up having our trip to Athens, Greece, Paris, France, and other places all scrubbed. So they had to fill other Liberty stops with those.
Gotcha. All right.
And I spent a couple of days in Mombasa, Africa. Got to go on a West African safari tour right out there with the wild, just like you're watching Wild Kingdom and all those old shows where the lions and zebras run wild. They literally do. They're not all penned up like they are at the zoo or something.
Mm-hmm.
So anyways, we come back May of 1983. We decommission the Mullinix. I go home for a couple of weeks. I go to report to Norfolk, Virginia, where I went through pre-com school. I went through Boat Coxswain School, Hilo Firefighting School, LSE, Helicopter Landing School, and then I was stationed up in Bath, Maine, where the USS DeWert FFG-45, a guided missile frigate, was being built while we were up there, waiting for it. And 19 November 1983, myself and 349 other shipmates and officers commissioned the DeWert into the United States Navy. So I'm a plank owner, so I actually own a section of the hull on a plaque at home that has the commissioning date and my rate and my name and everything on it.
Nice.
So I spent that time. I got out of active duty in November of 1984, came back home to Jackson, Michigan, where I took up cooking and a variety of just different kinds of jobs. And in the meantime, I had traveled. I had been in all these different school districts and Navy. I really wasn't building any. I was bullied early in life. I was hit by a car a couple of times. I was nearly drowned while I was in the children's home. So I never found any kind of purpose in life. And so I just traveled through job to job to job to job. They meant nothing to me except just capturing a little bit of money. And August 7th, 1999, in the back end of a bar, picture after picture, with all my depression medications, I attempted to take my life. My best friend, who got me to the ER and had my stomach filled with charcoal and pumped for over 3 hours, I ended up living, getting mental health services from Lifeways Community Mental Health in Jackson, Michigan. Fast forward to today, where I'm a state certified peer support specialist, giving hope and help back to those who are hurting and in darkness. But that's not the rest of the story, because February of 2001, I attempted again. I had to figure out something better in life because my life was running into a wall. So I went back into the military. I joined the 1461st Transportation Unit in Jackson, Michigan. And because of 2001, everything that happened with the towers, I volunteered. I left a 7 and a 3-year-old little boys at home, and I volunteered to deploy to Iraq, where I went to pre-deployment in Fort McCoy, Wisconsin. Another place, don't go in the wintertime. It's
there?
not the best vacation
we know,
spot
yeah,
unless you love winter. I deployed over to Iraq as a motor transport truck driver, driving 915s from April through June 3rd. But on Memorial Day 2004, I suffered a near-fatal staph infection from the bacteria in the sands on my left toe, and ended up, my leg was nearly 19 inches in diameter. I had 104 temp and didn't know it. My blood pressure dropped to 86/54. From here down, my leg was as red as a red Solo cup. And the colonel, my lymph nodes had already started to swell up this big. The colonel had told me, "Sergeant, if we would have waited one more hour for you to come in, we might be scraping you out of the motor pool." So I was medevaced out Memorial Day 2004, or June 3rd, 2004, to Landstuhl Germany Hospital, where I spent 5 days. The last day I was fortunate to be able to go to the village of Liechtenstein and tour a castle that's the oldest castle, and had a good time. Point though, have plenty of American money when you ride a cab in Germany, because it cost me $148 for a round trip for 30 minutes one way. So anyways, I got shipped out back home to Andrews and then to Scott Air Force Base in Illinois. Somehow the military, they love to spend jet fuel, and fly C-130s from Germany to Andrews to Scott Air Force Base in Illinois, and then to Fort Knox, Kentucky, instead of just going from Andrews right down to Fort Knox, just down the street. I spent 4.5 months there in Medhold, and then on November 4th, 2004, I was medically retired from the Michigan Army National Guard. Returned back home. The VA sent me to school. I started at 42 years old, I started my associate's program in business administration and in marketing at Jackson Community College, now Jackson College. I transferred to Eastern Michigan in 2009. Through 2011, I completed my bachelor's in communication, went on to stay in school until 2014, and unfortunately, the 26th of this month, 6 years ago, my mom passed away. And so I took a 4-year hardship. I returned 2 years ago and finished my master's in communication from Eastern Michigan University.
Nice.
I start something, I finish it. Regardless of being my age, I believe you never give up on anything that you start. And I became obviously eligible, probably the unofficial time from Iraq. I joined Post 423 in Ann Arbor, Michigan, because I went to a Student Veterans of America meet and greet event in Ypsilanti, Michigan, and one of the Post members said, "Are you a member of the Legion or VFW?" And I said, "No." I said, "I kind of joined the Legion before I deployed, but, well, you're eligible. Would you like to join?" I said, "Sure." So I joined, even though I'm 45.
When was this you joined?
I joined, would have been March, April of 2013.
Okay.
2012, 2013.
Right, okay.
Anyways, I ended up joining the 423 Post, which my post commander, for the first time in its almost 100-year history as a post, we are the first ever all-American post. So he crossed stage this morning and got his red, white, and blue cap. And I've been part of the post. I'm a 3-time past post commander. And I went on to serve District 6 as the adjutant, and now I am the service officer. And then 4 years ago, I was appointed by the late Mike Fennis, State Commander, PTSD Director, but I don't consider it a disorder. I consider it an injury. And now it's been reappointed as mental health director. And last year, Adjutant General's office, and Commander-in-Chief and Department Commander appointed me the Veterans and Military Support Chairman, which oversees the unmet needs, the Sport Clips Help a Hero Scholarship Foundation, the MAP program, and all those programs that truly help the veteran.
Right.
This is my first national convention here in Kansas City. I've never even been to Kansas City. Been halfway around the globe, but never to Kansas City, Missouri.
What do you think of it? What do you think of Kansas City?
It's a great. This is a party.
I love
in the
Kansas
hospitality
City.
rooms. That's even.
Yeah.
You got to be there.
Yeah.
You know, they've been there, done that.
Yeah.
That's where the real party's happening.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a lot of fun at night here, for sure. But I'm impressed with Kansas City. I have not seen one cop patrol the whole time I've been walking around and doing anything. And it seems like the city's very safe, you know?
Because you've got almost 7,000 veterans.
Yeah, I know.
We can handle crime.
Yeah, that would. Yeah.
We don't need no weapons. We got hand-to-hand combat skills.
Yeah,
we can drop people quicker than
good point.
This
is a bad time to try to misbehave here, you know. But yeah, true. True enough. So, and congratulations on your post making All-American.
Yeah, thank you.
Because you know the commander gets the hat, but it is definitely the post that does it. I mean, leadership matters, but. But you know, it's definitely the post that makes it work too.
And I'm an all-state post commander from 2 years ago, and because of the post, many posts in 6th district, our district commander Reinhold Yaka also became an all-American district director, which also got Kevin Conklin, this last year's state commander, all-American state commanders cap as well. So it was a post, district, and state commander, all-American in the same year.
And I wanted to tell you too, I agree with you on something. It's not PTSD, it's PTS.
Yep.
It's post-traumatic stress. It's not a disorder.
And I would really hope that the world...
It's what happened. It's what happened to us. It's not a disorder.
I really wish that, and even working in mental health, I wish that we could change the language
they should.
Of how we address mental injuries, that it should be an injury, because I was not born at birth, January 31st, 1963, with a disorder of post-traumatic stress.
Right. You were not born with it.
I injured it because of my traumas from being hit on a bicycle, to be nearly drowned, to attempting to take my life by suicide twice, to my experience of 63 days with the staph infection in Iraq. That is my post-traumatic stress.
And if you don't take care of it, it's not processed, and we could talk about this for a while. It stacks on top of each other. It becomes complex PTS.
And now, because I have a United States Marine son, Austin Farrell Brinker, who's in his last year of his first contract as a motor transport in Camp Lejeune with the 2nd Battalion.
Oh boy.
And he's planning on getting out, but the Marine Corps is going to send him to a specialized school to get certificate training in auto body and auto mechanics, which he loves to do, and he's going to remain there in Charlotte, North Carolina, and seek the employment.
Sounds great.
Something very proud of. That it was funny that 4 years ago, when he first come to my wife and I and said, "Dad, I'm going to join the Marines," I'm like,
what?
I thought I fell off. I thought the ground parted and the seas moved. And I have friends, as a Navy sailor, first and foremost, I have friends that serve in the Marine Corps.
You give them rides all the time, don't you?
I've heard the stories of what Paris Island boot camp is like. That the yelling starts the moment the bus stops, and doesn't stop until about the 10th week of boot camp. And you step on those yellow footprints, and you are yelled at until about the 10th week before they finally start letting up as you proceed to that 13th week in graduation, where 23 August 9th of 2019, Kilo Company 3058 graduated, and he was recognized by leadership because he had found leadership's wife's debit card at the PX and returned it. So he learned about trust early on in life,
right,
through me and everything else.
Right. All right, sir. Well, thank you so much for talking with us. Very, very informative, and you're very good with the dates and the details. Very good. Very good. You're a detail guy.
I'm a detail guy because I'm a